Thank you for Patreon now for donating to the Patreon.
Hey guys, it's Vaniazo back with another Card Fight Vanguard deck proposal. If you guys enjoyed, don't like, comment, subscribe, let's go start, shall we? This time we're covering Great Nature Leopold with the new reverse. So, we all know OG Leopold, he sucked. His first skill was really good, but then you have to remember he's a fucking vanilla, even though he might be free. The second after you ride him, he's effectively useless. So unless you got multiple copies going into it, he's a one-time ride, and that's pretty much it. The reverse, however, make some use out of him, because he has similar skills to what Leopold regular does, and not to mention he does a better skill. He's like Isabel, but slightly less than Isabel. Isabel's a 7, Leopold reverse is a 6. So let's go ahead and get this deck profile started, shall we? And you can see what I mean. That was the worst analogy I could possibly make out of that. So first up, we have our starter in Blackboard Parrot, grade 0 boost, 10k shield, 6k base, auto, and Rotopon. Draw a card, then your opponent's Vanguard to go when graded, you get a quick shield, take it to your hand. Standard starter, and special battle, you get a draw, you get a quick shield. This can really be any starter you want. It can be Beginning Hydrex, I think it's called, Blackboard Parrot, or it can even be Jet Ink Fox. Reason why I chose to be Blackboard Parrot, it's just the most iconic, I don't know, I was about to say G starter, not V starter either, goddamn, what's it called, Great Nature starter. I don't know why, I think it's the only starter from Great Nature that actually was in the original. No offense, Hydrex, but I'm pretty sure you weren't in the original, and I know Jet Ink Fox wasn't in there. So yeah, Blackboard Parrot is just the starter I choose for this, just because Leopold was also an original card. Then we have our trick lineup: 4 draw PG and Cable Sheep, grade 0 boost, 0 shield, 5k power, continuous sentinel, and 4 summons the deck, and auto guard circle. When places card 1 from your hand, 1 cannot be in battle. Standard PG, nothing special about it. We got 8 fronts: 4 Cast and Donkey, 4 Crush and Chinchilla, and 4 Insurance Doctor Carebat. Okay. I don't run heals. I'm sorry, I don't run heal guardians. No, I do run heals. I don't run heal guardians because they judge up to my playstyle. They do absolutely nothing for me. If you want to run heal guardians, you can put them in this exact deck. You'll be fine. It doesn't change how the deck works. It just changes how it plays for you. I personally don't like heal guardians, but do as you wish with it. I run the 8 fronts because, let's be fair, crits aren't necessary. This deck gets enough power as is. Might as well stack more numbers just because, the crit, you don't want to take that chance with the crit when you can just put numbers everywhere, because the deck can pressure enough without the crits, and then the draw makes sure that you have hand, but you also might deck out from this, so who knows, the draw might be the winning game factor, or it might be the reason you lose, who knows. Then move on to our grade 1s. First up, we have 2 copies of Blossom Ringtail. This card, the following words I'm about to say describe the reason why this card's in here. I wanted to run as much cards that had lottery as possible, not at 1 copy. That's why Blossom Ringtail's here. So grade 1 boost, 10k shield, 8k base, auto rear when it attacks or boost anything, counterblast or attack into anything. Counterblast 1, put the top card of your deck into drops and perform on the following effect of this card type. So if you sent a normal unit to drop, you draw a card. If you send a trigger unit, choose one of your opponent's rear guards, murder, and this unit gets +5 for the turn. Okay, I mainly run it for the killing skill because getting to fuck with your opponent's board is really nice, especially if you have 2 binoculars tiger on your board, because combined with these, yes, that's a counterblast of 3, under the right conditions, that's a counterblast of 3, yes, but you're nuking 3 rear guards, and then 3 of your total 6 units are getting +5, plus this thing getting +5, so I really like fucking with the opponent's board with this deck. I think it's really cool, especially with what I say when I fuck with the board, and I'll say it later if I remember to when I get to the grade 3 for it. So all around, Blossom Ringtail is really good in that aspect. When you see a normal unit from its skill, however, it's kind of like what I say when I see a normal with Binoculars Tiger. The draw is the worst possible skill. Normally people are like, hell yeah, let's get a draw. Nope, there's never been a time I have used that draw usefully. So 2 of, and I hope for your sake you either see a trigger unit when you're not using Leopold, or you're on Leopold, and always when you use this. Then we have 3 copies of Binoculars Tiger. This is my least favorite grade 1 out of all of Great Nature, and yet for some reason this thing has been the MVP of my Leopold deck. I feel like it's trying to prove a point to me. So grade 1 boost, 10k shield, 8k base, auto van or rear when it attacks or boosts a rear guard. So when it's attacking a rear guard, or is it just when it attacks or boosts? I think I know what it means. I'm pretty sure it just means when it attacks into anything, and then if it boosted a rear guard. But, just proving a point on how the grammar could be technically confusing, even though it's not. Soul Boss 1, middle top card, perform on the following. Normal unit, your opponent cannot call sentinels from their hand to guard circle to end the battle, and if it's a trigger unit, your opponent can only call triggers from their hand until end of battle. So what you can do is something funny: call Binoculars Tiger to the front row, call one to the back row, attack with them, use both their skills, pray to God that you see 2 different units of the different types, and if you do, cool, that means they're restricted from using sentinels and they're forced to only use triggers. Yep. There's a plus to that. You can just restrict everything in their hand if they ran the grade 1 sentinels. All around, this thing's actually really good. I love comboing that off because that basically restricts a lot of their options to very little cards. Because even if you restrict it to triggers, most of the time people are going to have the grade 0 sentinels. So if you restrict the grade 0 sentinels and then you restrict the only triggers, that means all their defensive cards that they're trying to keep for later purposes, even if this was only like a 5k block, guess what? They don't have a 5k on board, they're going to have to drop a trigger for it. Auto Binoculars is really good just for that early rush aspect, and I like it, and it can be a really good finisher in the late game when you have 2 of them together, 3 of. Then we have 4 copies of my favorite card in this deck, and I'm really glad Leopold gives us a way to activate it, Flated Lemur. Grade 1 boost, 10k shield, 8k base, auto rear when placed. If you have a Vanguard that's grade 3 or greater, put the top card of your deck into drop zone, perform one of the following. Either if it's a normal unit, you may soul charge 1, or if it's a trigger unit, you have to counter charge 1. So, I hate the soul charge skill, because even though this is great nature and the deck needs soul a lot, this is actually the one great nature deck that doesn't need soul charging constantly. Except here's the problem though, it needs counter charging constantly, but for some reason this is the one unit I do not consistently see triggers with. Everyone else on this list I will see a trigger with every now and again. This is the only one I don't see triggers with. Thankfully Leopold makes it so that everything counts as a trigger, so this thing doesn't get a choice whether it goes off or not. It's going off as a counter charge, and I like it for that one reason alone, because this deck needs counter chargers and it's a 4 for that reason alone. But if you do get the soul charge because you need it for some reason, because maybe you've just been banning this card too much, it's a 4 for that too. Then we have 4 copies of our last grade 1, Clear Kakapoo. The exact reason this is here. This is the best grade 1 ever in this deck, and you do not want to ride this. This is the best grade 1 on rear, you do not want to ride this either, and this does not activate on Van. So you don't want to ride that either. That's why he's here. He is just the Vanguard. Grade 1 boost, 10k shield, 8k base, auto Van or rear when placed, and build the top card, and perform one of the following based off its effect. If it's a normal unit, you may draw a card and discard one, and if it's a trigger unit, draw a card, put something from hand to bottom. So, I think the trigger's better, because even though you are losing a trigger, you are at least recycling something back, so you could possibly recycle a different trigger back, and just, get a better trigger out of it, or end up just cycling the same trigger back, and you're just swapping it for a hand card. So all around, Clear Kakapoo is really good. It just gets you a hand card and a recycle for a hand card. It does it for free. Granted, it's mandatory, but who cares? All around, it's a really nice grade 1, and I like it, so 4 of. Then we have our next grade 2s. So we have 4 copies of Barcode Zebra. Don't run Researcher Fox over this, because Researcher Fox sucks in this deck. Grade 2 Intercept, 5k shield, 9k base. Auto rear, when your card is put from your deck into your drop zone, not once per turn, he gets +5. That's stacks. So let's see. If you do this, comboed by Leopold, comboed by 2 of these, comboed by at least 1 Binoculars Tiger, that's 5 mils. That's +25. And you put it on Mixel Gift. He's at 39k swing. This thing is the most dangerous rearguard on your board, and your opponent will actively nuke this. If they see it come down, anything that's not going to the Vanguard will immediately go to that. There are 2 guns pointed at your side of the field. One of them points to your Vanguard. The other one is violently pointing at the Zebra, ready to pull the trigger at any frickin' moment. So, 4 of Barcode Zebra. Now, if only Bushy gave us a way to give it resist, and then it would be perfect, because then they can't touch it without swinging into it. So, 4 of Barcode, because it is a dangerous ass card and will be the death of your opponent. Then we have 4 copies of Binoculars Tiger. I hate how this thing looks in the newer one, because it makes it look so thick. Like, I like how it's just a tiger. I really like the tiger, and I really like the feel of the binoculars, but just this little hump right here makes it feel a lot too thick for me, and it feels really unnatural looking at it like that. Anyways, grade 2 Intercept, 5k shield, 9k base, auto Vanaroo when it attacks a Vanguard, mill the top card by counterblasting 1, and do one of the following based off what a card is. So if it's a normal unit, you get to draw a card. Again, like I said with Bossum, if you see a normal unit, just shake your head and then be depressed because the deck hates you. And if it's a trigger unit, the preferred option, same thing as Bossum where you kill rear guard, but instead of giving itself +5, it gives 3 units +5, and they have to be in the front row. But that means it can give it to itself or everyone else. So what I like to do with this is, I'll have a Leopold in the front row. My Vanguard obviously being a Leopold. I'll have a grade 1 on an Excel, not an Excel circle, promo cycling Binoculars. Then I have a Barcode Zebra not on an Excel circle because it can already hit enough numbers. And then Binoculars. And then what I'll do is I'll use Binoculars skill, see a trigger, nuke something, give him +5, give Binoculars +5, and then give the Vanguard +5. And then Barcode Zebra will already get +5 from its own skill, basically meaning my whole front row got a free +5 for no apparent reason. So for Binoculars Tiger is really good. It does field fuckery. It gets numbers to front row, and worst case scenario you get a draw. But in this deck, the worst case scenario is you don't have a Leopold rear guard to lock, meaning you actually have to rely on luck. So for Binoculars Tiger, it's an amazing grade 2, and I like it 4 of. Then we have 4 copies of Lovey Dovey Daughter, grade 2 intercept, 5k shield, 9k base, auto van or rear when placed, counterboss 1, middle the top card, perform one of the following based off its type. Norm unit, call it to rear. Just get a free board. And trigger unit, this unit gets plus 15 for the turn. Okay, here's my thing. I hate that second part. I hate that if you see a trigger, it gets plus 15. That only comes in useful to me when it's the end of the game and when I'm trying to rush them because I already have a board. Every other time, I use this skill to hopefully see a normal unit so I can get a superior call. What ends up happening half the time? Gets 15, and then the next drive check is a unit I really could have called, and I would have been a real benefit to me. But no, Daughter likes to screw me over half the time. Don't worry, now it doesn't have a choice because Leopold basically forces it to call the norm unit. So in this deck, it's really good that it can basically get you a field out of anywhere just for the cost of a counterblast, and not to mention that in the late game where you're trying to be really aggressive, you can get that 15 instead of calling a rear guard, and it's just really good for board development and rushing. All around, amazing grade 2. I like it, 4 of. They move on to our grade 3s. First up, 4 copies of School Hunter Leopold. Okay, here's why this is here. You run it at 4 because max chances of going with Leopold reverse. I've seen people run Isabel with it. I'm not going to run Isabel in it. Isabel, in my opinion, is a different archetype entirely, and while technically it is not a different archetype, I just consider it a different archetype considering just how they are used, and I don't like having 2 different cards that I consider from different archetypes being restricted with Vanguard skills, being in the same deck. It feels very weird to me, so I'm not going to run Isabel with Leopold. It's just not a thing that's going to happen. So instead, I put 4 Leopold just because Leopold him out. But again, you can do what you want with this deck. I just choose to do this. Anyways, grade 3 turns of Excel gift, 12k base. Continues Vanguard. If you have a grade 3 in your soul, this unit's auto abilities activate 2 times. When placed abilities also activate 2 times. I don't know why they feel like explaining that. He only has 1 auto ability. Great Nature is not a deck that gives auto abilities. Okay, well, back in the OG it was, but not here, so I don't know why they bothered making that a skill. Anyways, auto van, when placed, mow the top card, perform one of the following effects based off of what happened. So if it was a normal unit, look at top 4, call up to 2 grade 2 less cards from them to rear and shuffle your deck. Okay, cool. He can get you 2 units for free. If you had a grade 3 in soul, since it activates twice, you just mill twice. So, okay, you could possibly get 4 rear guards out of this. If you see a trigger unit, it gets plus 15k and a crit ton of turn. So 27 double critical face, and if you got a second ability off and you got another trigger, 42 triple crit face. Or you could have gotten both, where one is a normal, one's a trigger. So top 4 followed by crit and plus 15. So that's a good ability. It is. It genuinely is. Now here's the issues. It's an on-place. I don't know why Bushy made this an on-place. It's a free on-place, yeah, but this should not have been an on-place to begin with. This should have been an on-attack do it. And if that was too much for them because of this 15 extra crit, what they could have done is made it a 5 extra crit. They didn't have to make it a 15. They could just make it on attack, pay a counterblast, pay a soul blast, or maybe just make it a discard, or still keep it free and just not give a crit. Or maybe not give power. I don't know. Leopold OG, as good as it was to get an early effect off and like bombard the opponent when they can't develop because you know you're going first because you can do this with their grade 2, wasn't a good skill after they hit grade 3, and after they did hit grade 3 and you didn't ride, this is effectively a vanilla. So 4 of Leopold, because he's really good the turn you ride him, but then after that he's kind of like, what do you do again? Why are you here? Why do I run you? 4 of. Because he's ran for his name and nothing else. If you get him on Van, I feel sorry for you, and I really hope you draw this thing. Because it's School Punisher, Leopold Reverse. Is that a tornado in the background? Is that like just the sky being split from like this man's claw, like ripping into the ground at max energy? I don't know, but I really like all the fucking reverse circles on him. I like how like they're kind of like teeth chomping in. It's just really rigid and daggery. That's not a word, but you get what I mean. Alright, I like it, and I think this looks cool. I also like how it's jacketed armor. So anyways, grade 3 200 Excel gift, 12k base, School Punisher, Leopold Reverse, active Vanguard once per turn, lock a rear guard with Leopold in its card name, and the cards discarded from your deck get the normal, trigger, and order card types until end of turn. Basically meaning every card you mill will count as everything. Now this is different from Isabel, because Isabel makes it so that both abilities activate regardless of what the card is. So if you saw a trigger, say example for Lovey Dovey Daughter, both effects would still go off where you get to call the unit and it will still get plus 15. Leopold does not allow both abilities to go off, but it gives the possibility of both of them to go off. Say for example you mill a trigger for Lovey Dovey Daughter. While you do not get to do both, now you can choose if you want to call the trigger or still get the plus 15. So it gives you the choice. It gives you basically both options. You're just not allowed to pick both options. So all around that's actually really good because it doesn't cost counterblast, doesn't cost soul blast. You call this to back row center, because that's like the least important spot in this deck anyways. Call it to back row center, lock it, boom, you're basically done. Like, unless they murder it, you basically have free access to all of your skills, which is amazing in this deck, especially because that guarantees affected Lemur will always be a countercharger. And active Vanguard once per turn, counterboss 1, mill the top card, perform all the following effects based off of low in any order depending on the card's type. In any order? Oh shit, so you can choose. Well, too bad. Anyways, so you, as I said, you can do it in any order apparently, even though I thought it was you have to do it in descending order. But that's really good because that means you can do them however you like. It's just a counterblast, and that means if you use his first effect, all of them go off, and the best part about this is all of these can go off without the opponent being a grade 3. So if it's a normal unit, you look at top 5, you have to 2 unit cards from among them, call in a Rigard Circle and shuffle your deck. Okay, really good. Even though he is more restrictive because he says units and this can call anything, so you could technically call orders, the plus side to this is he can look at one more card instead of top 4, it's top 5, and not to mention that it can be of any grades instead of grade 2 or less. That's really good. Even though these two don't do anything on rear, it's really good that he can work for other cards that would have rear guard abilities. Then if you saw a trigger unit, until end of turn, this unit gets continuous Vanguard, all your front row units get +5, and gets an extra crit. So, okay, that's cool. He gets a continuous skill. That would technically stack if you found a way to do it twice. I'm pretty sure that's how it would work, right? Like if you found a way to do it twice, it would activate all, so that's pretty cool. I might be wrong, but who cares? So either way, the front row getting +5 is really nice. That's just like a Tamayura thing, and Tamayura is proving really good with that, so all around really good, and himself getting that crit. So just like I said, where Leopold could work with that 5k and a crit, still really good, less power for himself personally, but he does pump up everyone else, and he gets a crit for it. And if you saw an order, which there are no orders in this deck, but because of his typing, making order types, get Imaginary Gift Axel. I don't know if Bushy was trying to make like order Great Nature. I know Great Nature used to run the book order. I don't run orders in V. Orders in V feel like a weird thing to me, unless it's like Blaster order, or if it's that one lyrical deck that literally focuses on orders. Otherwise, I don't run orders at all because it just feels really weird to do it in V. But apparently Bushy was trying to get order Great Nature going, order colony. Anyways, that's really good. He can just give you free Excel gift. He can get a lot of pluses. He can get a board. He can get extra crits and power, and he can do this all with the opponent's not a grade 3. He's a really good card. He genuinely is amazing. The second you get this and this in your opening hand, you've won. You know what? Don't even mulligan. Like, if you see one of these two in your hand, just mulligan to get the other one. Even if you have to sacrifice your grade 1 and grade 2 ride, do it. I've done it. I didn't regret that decision because you want to ideally have both these in hand just so you can abuse the fuck out of your opponent if you're going first. So 4 of Leopold reverse because this thing is deadly if you're going first, and you will abuse the fuck out of everything that stands before you. Then we have our 5XL1s, 5XL2s. So when they're made, they go in the front row, starting at the top left, then the top right, and then you alternate between the two. There's new circles. They do not go on the original ones. Why Bushy made this a ruling, not the making new circles, but the fact of where they have to be placed, I don't know, but whatever. So XL1, the unit on the circle gets +10 during your turn. XL2, you draw a card when it's made and gets +5 during your turn. Okay, the lowest I've gone with, like, absolute hand milling, every card that has a mill effect that can go off in the moment goes off. I've reached 11 deck cards, counting when I'm spamming XL2 via the effect of reverse and riding with the reverse. That's the least amount of deck cards I've hit. 11. So, I mean, technically 10 when I took my damage check. Oh, no, I did deck out once, but that was because my opponent was actively stalling me out. Like, he didn't even try winning. He was just trying to stall. So, outside of 0 flat, it was 11. So, take that as you will. I think XL2 is definitely the way to go just to make sure you have more consistency with calling, but considering the fact this thing just gets you a board really quickly, you can feel free to go XL1. Spam numbers, make everything that isn't a barcode zebra even bigger, but either way, do as you wish. I do think XL2 is just slightly better because that draw does help, especially when you're not drawing off the effects of Binoculars or or Boss and Ringtail, even though you do have the choice to draw from them if you're on reverse. And then we have a quick shield, which activates when one of your attacks as a 5k shield for the battle. So that's your special ability. You typically use it for a discard, but since nothing in this deck discards, use it as a PG fodder, because why the hell not? Or you just get a free 5k shield in the early game. Who cares? And that's it for the deck. I hope you guys enjoyed. All around, this deck is very good. I like it a lot, actually. I've always liked Leopold in V. I always just wish he wasn't just a straight up vanilla, so the fact that we after he was ridden anyways. So I like the fact that we got a reverse that basically does a very similar thing, but can get you more board advantage really quickly, does the same kind of similar extra crit skill, and not to mention now he can spam out excel gifts, making it so you can get even more board a lot faster. All around, this thing is very deadly. It's very cool. I like using it. If you get a barcode zebra on board, your opponent's literally going to fire a gun at it until it dies, because quite literally that's probably what's going to kill them faster between the Vanguard and that. So all around, I just gotta say it's really fun using. I suggest you play it if you're a great nature fan. So without further ado, hope you guys enjoyed. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, join Discord, follow Twitch, and I'll see you all in the next one. Don't forget to stand up your Vanguards.